So I booked a $25,000 event and I lost a $30,000 event. So we're going to talk about it, what I did and how I went about it, and whether or not I pimp slapped the guy where I lost a $30,000 event.
How'd you do that?
I see that success is not something you pursue. It is something you are.
All right, so first I want to talk about the $30,000 event, and I actually think this was another speaker just trying to figure out my prices and everything like that. And that's actually the problem with what I'm doing with Speaking Lifestyle is I get a lot of speakers who just want to talk on the phone, or they just act like someone who's trying to book me, and then they try to figure out what my prices are. Honestly, I don't care if people know my prices, but I think this was another speaker just trying to figure out my prices just because of the way the whole situation worked. But I want to give you details about this event and just a few things because speakers can actually learn from this. You can actually learn whether or not this was another speaker or not. There are a few things that I want to point out with this event. When I got the email, they asked me about 2 dates. They said, hey, is Benji available for this date and this date? We want him to MC and speak. Now, I turned down the MC part. I said, nope, I'm not going to MC. No matter what. I've been asked to MC several times, and I told them, like, hey, if you want an MC, I'll send you to a guy. And so they actually said, no, we just want you to speak. That'd be okay then. But whenever I get asked to MC at an event, I always turn it down because it's not what I'm great at. I'm sure I can get on stage. I'm sure I can be a great MC, but it's not what I really want to do, and it's not what I want to really get good at. And because of that, I'm not going to make myself look bad by stepping on a stage and not being the best MC possible, because it's just not what I'm interested in. So if you get offered something and it's not something that you're good at or something you don't want to get good at, then you got to turn it down no matter how much they offer you. Well, if they offer you $1 million, then you probably want to do it. I mean, if anyone watching this, if you want to pay me $1 million to MC, I'll do it. I'll get good at it. But basically, the reason why I turned it down is because I'm not interested in being an MC. I don't want to get good at it, nothing. So if anyone asks me to MC, I'll turn it down. Now, after we asked them questions, so they sent an email in, they asked about the MC, we said, nope, not interested in the MC, I'll just speak and that's it. So at this point, they said, okay, fine, just the speaking, how much? And so now I sent them an email and I asked them all the questions that I normally ask. And once we asked the questions, now we quoted them the $30,000 price. And once we quoted the $30,000 price in the CRM, we now put a follow-up date. And they didn't respond, by the way. So usually when someone doesn't respond, once you quote a price, if someone doesn't respond, that usually means that the price was too high. And in this case, I knew the price wasn't high. If this was a real event, by the way, if this wasn't just some speaker just trying to send me an email, I knew the price wasn't high because they said that last year they brought in another guy, and I knew who this guy was. Like I literally know who he is, and so I know his prices, and he charges over $30,000. So if they brought him in last year, I knew $30,000 is nothing for this year. So I knew the price wasn't too high, which is why when they didn't respond back, that's also another thing where I said, this is probably a speaker. And when they didn't respond back, we now sent another email that said, hey, are you interested in this date? Because we're going to have to give it to somebody else, pretty much. So they now said, can you hold the date? And the holding part, it was for, I don't know, 3-4 weeks. It was like a long hold. I mean, it was like the beginning of the month, like 1st or 2nd. And then they said, can you hold the date to the 22nd? And so I told the person, I said, no, we don't hold dates. Like, we literally, especially that long, can't hold dates that long. And this is just because in the past I held a date before, and then the person that I held the date for, they didn't book me, but I turned down another event because I was holding the date for the person who wanted me to hold the date before. You get what I'm saying. Basically, I lost 2 events by holding a date. And ever since, I said, no, I will never, ever hold a date ever again. So what I told them is I said, look, we're not going to hold the date, but basically, if someone comes and someone says, hey, we want to book them for the same date, I'll usually send an email saying, look, you have a few hours, you got to send a deposit. If not, I'm giving it to the other person. But I never hold dates. And I want to point this out. Depending on where you are in your business, you might have to hold a date, or you might have to say you're going to hold a date if your calendar isn't as full as you'd like it to be. So in the beginning, I didn't mind holding dates because I knew nobody's going to book me for that date later on anyways. But now I know that someone else is going to contact me and there's going to be a schedule conflict. So just understand where you are in your business. So now I want to talk about the $25,000 event that I did book. This event, what happened was I contacted them 5 months ago. And 5 months ago, I sent out the email sequence, the same stuff that I sent out with the Event Finder program. I did all of that stuff, and it was 5 months ago, and we kept in touch with them. And then finally, they said, hey, we want to bring him in. And the $25,000 event, it's an event out in Atlanta, and Atlanta has a lot of events. They have, I guess it's a great place for events, and this is something you want to pay attention to when you're contacting events. You want to pay attention to what areas actually have a lot of events, because that means you're much more likely to get booked if you're looking in the right places. And I got this event by looking for other speakers, another speaker who charged $25,000, because my whole thing is I want to charge as much as I can. So I was like, well, let me see what other speakers charge $25K, and then I looked for a speaker, found a speaker, saw an event that he spoke at a couple years before, and I just contacted them. And that's one way that I've been increasing my prices. I also want to point out that I got this because it looks like I'm worth what I'm asking for. You can only get a $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 event if you look like you're worth it. Most speakers would never even be able to get a $5,000 event because they have a horrible website, horrible, no videos and all that. So you got to really understand where you're at in your speaking business, and you got to be real about it. You got to say, look, I may know that I'm worth $10,000. I may know that I'm worth $50,000, but do I look like I'm worth it? If you don't look like you're worth it, it's going to be hard when you get it. It's going to be hard to get it. The higher priced events, they have a longer sales cycle. So when I contacted them months ago, and they say, yeah, send us your stuff. We kept in touch with them. We kept in touch with them over time. This is a longer sales cycle. So don't expect to get booked instantly. And this is a big problem that a lot of people have is they say, oh, I contacted people, but nobody was really interested. And it's been a few weeks and oh, nothing's really happening. Does this really work? And they're not patient enough to let the business come in. The higher priced something is, whether it's a speaking, whether it's a program, whatever it is, the higher priced something is, the longer the sales cycle is. And so the $25,000 event is the same way that I got all my other events. It's using the prospecting system that I've set up, and basically you win some, you lose some, but that's how you generate business.